where he was an associate professor of neurology with tenure for many years. Then he had his own private practice at the Flagler Hospital in St Augustine, Turiya. Vinod is now retired. He has published over 60 scientific articles, including a monograph on brain-blood flow. His recent articles were on the neuroscience of meditation, the mainstream self, Turiya, Prana-Dhyana, and Vedic Psychology as a science of wisdom, secular wisdom, the CPU hypothesis of meditation, and creativity, among many other things that he has published. His latest book is called The Astonishing Brain and Holistic Consciousness, Neuroscience and Vedanta Perspectives, published in 2012 by Neuroscience and Vedanta. His hobbies are poetry, photography, and oil painting. They're absolutely marvelous because I see many of them. He has published 4 books on his original poetry, essays, and photographs. And they're also great. On a personal note, we know he's a highly learned man.
About 45, 50 minutes.
If I had to choose one man or one person as a role model for me, among all the Indians that are involved, Vinod's wife Nanda is here. She's a retired astrologist. And he's got 3 sons, all MDs from Harvard. They're all brothers. So,
I follow the neurobiological perspective. So, to define meditation, in the Western literature, Lutz and Richardson in 2008 defined meditation as a family of disciplines that promotes self-regulation and self-regulation of attention as well as emotion. And then this evolves or develops into mental health, self-understanding, also insight into ourselves, peace of mind, creativity. All these are very interesting values that we can develop and understand in ourselves. Now, if you look at our everyday mind as it is from moment to moment, if you observe your own mind, you will notice that the mind wanders. That is the commonest state. In fact, there are 5 different states of mind we can think of. One is the wandering mind, which we are all familiar with. We move from one toy to another toy to another toy, or we do multitasking and whatnot. So that's the wandering mind. Second is the alternating mind, indecision. Shall I do this or shall I do that? That's just wavering mind, wavering or indecision mind. Third is a mind that is focused on something outside. Either it is running after something that it desires, or is running away from something that it fears. So a mind, the third stage is focused outside, either approach or avoid. And these are fundamental modes of every organism that lives. You have to run towards something that is desirable and run away from something that is dangerous. The fourth stage is being focused inside, something that is happening within yourself, to become aware of your own body, mind and ego, your own physiology, like being aware of your breathing, of your tension, of your feelings, thoughts, all that. That is the fourth, internal. And the fifth stage is spontaneity, that you are spontaneous. You are at ease with yourself and at home in the present situation. So that is the desirable, that is the goal of all of us, to live a life with spontaneity and being at ease with oneself as one is, and to be at home in the present moment, in the present situation. So let's go through some of the slides now. Okay, thank you. So, there are different types of meditation. If you read the literature, you get confused by and there are many gurus and many so-called experts, they will promote their own method or technology. It's very simple. Whatever works for you, you have to do and learn from it. So, I thought of it as an integrative presence. Presence meaning present-mindedness, being here and now. And integrated means being integrated with yourself in the present situation. So, integrated presence, self-integration, calm attentiveness, that's a good term. That you are fully alert, attentive, but you are calm, composed. Hopefully compassionate, caring and creative. So, and there is a primordial feeling, and I'm going to go more into this state of primordial feeling, because that is the very essence or foundation of our mind. And we need to discover that. We are always on the surface, talking, interacting. We never go to the foundation of our own mind and heart. And that primordial feeling is the innermost feeling that we have. And then finally the natural bliss, which is unconditional bliss, unconditional happiness, unconditional joy, unconditional love, that continuously effuses within your own heart, within your own being. We have to discover that. That is the fountain of youth. That is the secret of our own being, energy of energy. There has been a long tradition of yogic meditation. And if you look at even the Upanishads, which are 1500 BC, there are Upanishads with one page that describes like Bahyatma, Antaratma, Paramatma. Bahyatma means the soul that is externally oriented. Antaratma means the the self that is internally oriented. And Paramatma means a transcendent being, which is limitless, which is infinite. Then I have written an article on Vedic psychology, so if you are interested in the history of this tradition, you can read that article called Vedic Psychology. I have also written an article on Patanjali's Yoga Sutra, Eightfold Path, a neurologist perspective. So there is no belief system. I'm not promoting any belief system or religion or anything like that. This is purely neuroscientific and secular wisdom. So then there is a Buddhist tradition, Anapanasati, which is really Prana Apana Smriti. Anapanasati is a Pali word, and some of the Pali words were derived from Sanskrit words. So the original Sanskrit word is Prana Apana Smriti. Prana means inhalation, Apana means exhalation, Smriti means memory or awareness of it. So Buddha taught a very simple method of mindfulness, which was amazing. He said that when you take a long breath, know that you took a long breath. When you take a short breath, know that you took a short breath. So it was such a simple technique. Whatever is happening to your mind, body and ego at this present moment and in the situation of the world, be aware of it as it is. Don't try to change this or that. Just become aware of it. You learn a lot by that awareness. By listening you learn a lot, not by talking or speaking. So Prana-Parasati or breath awareness. And then there is a tradition of contemplation and prayer. I think a lot of the Abrahamic religions, including Judaism, Christianity, Islam, they have the tradition of contemplation and prayer, which is fine. And for some people that helps, which is good. Then Herbert Benson at Harvard did some initial research, and he came up with a book called Relaxation Response, in which his research showed that so-called mantra meditation. Mantra means some sort of very important phrase or sound that you repeat to yourself in order to calm your mind. That wandering mind which is talking about 100 different things, you just talk about one thing, that mantra, whether it is Om or whatever you decide to recite. So you recite that so that your mind becomes a little more integrated, a little more focused than going to 100 different places. And what his research showed that even if you say one instead of Om, still you can get a relaxation response. And after 10 or 15 minutes, when you have a relaxation response, your sympathetic drive diminishes and the parasympathetic drive increases. So this vagosympathetic tone that we all have from moment to moment, usually it is driven or dominated by the sympathetic drive. We are always at the edge for some reason or the other. The parasympathetic drive is more relaxed, and when you are relaxed, then your heart rate comes down, your respiration comes down, your metabolism comes down. So you are more at baseline, at ease with yourself. The essence of meditation is to come back to the baseline. Otherwise we are projecting ourselves to face the world either with anger or fear or love or whatever feeling you have, whatever negative feeling you have, in order to fight or flight or flirt or whatever the interaction is going on at the moment. So the point of meditation is to come back to yourself, to your own energy, being and awareness, and to your own heart. And there is an infinite source of energy, awareness and being. At the fountain is within us, and I'll come to that. Then Lutz called it the focus meditation, concentration. And the concentration can be on any object, any image or any thought or breath. inhalation, exhalation. What is most helpful is not only to become aware of inhalation and exhalation, but to become aware of the interval between inhalation and exhalation. To slow down your breathing and to become aware of the little pause between inhalation and exhalation. And in that interval is the base, is the foundation or the ground state that you become aware of. And in that interval you may start hearing a spontaneous sound, a spontaneous what I call sound of energy. Traditionally it has been called anahata nada. Anahata means unstruck, nada means sound. That means uncreated sound, which is spontaneous sound. But it is not a sound, cannot be described. It is just a sound of silence. It is the silence that you hear. Then open monitoring meditation or mindfulness. Mindfulness is very popular now. And even in psychology literature, neuroscience literature, mindfulness has become a buzzword. If you use mindfulness, you get a grant from any agency. It's acceptable. If you say yoga, no, they won't accept it. But if you say mindfulness-based stress reduction program, my goodness, that's perfect. University of Florida in Gainesville is also doing a project. My friend, Professor Heilman, Kenneth Heilman, and James Austin, you may have read some of his books. Heilman has published a lot. James Austin has also published a lot on brain and Zen. So they are doing a project on creativity with meditation. And they have a scale of creativity, and they are measuring creativity before and after mindfulness meditation. And it has been shown that the creativity increases. Then there is transcendental meditation or TM, which again is a big movement and a lot of research has been done with TM. Here again you have some sort of device like a mantra or some sound that you follow till it takes you to the very foundation of your own mind, the base of your mind. It reminds me almost like when we all learned to scuba dive. When we went to the Keys, Florida Keys, you go to the molasses or one of these reefs, and you dive and go 30 or 40 feet. And when I stood at the bottom of the ocean and looked up, it was an amazing experience. It is like that. You go to the bottom of your mind, consciousness, and from there you see the whole structure of mind, mental activity, awareness and everything. So the goal is to reach that foundation and to be able to be so grounded in that state, to act from that source, to interact from that source. Now recently there is research from Denmark talking about open and calm meditation. And this article, they invited people from universities, classes, and also public, and they wanted to promote mental health. And their technique was open and calm. By open they mean being relaxed and receptive. By calm they mean calm, composed, and non-interfering, non-intervening. More a witnessing attitude, witnessing what is happening rather than getting involved. It's like bird watching. A beautiful bird is there, you noticed it. Just watch it. Don't make sound, don't try to interfere, don't do anything. Just watch the wonder of nature. And you have to have that sort of attitude. When you are interacting with your child, watch him like that. Don't keep on correcting him to this and that and that. Then you never know what the child is thinking about. Talking about a child, it reminds me of my grandchildren. My 4-year-old granddaughter, Sona, I pick her up from school sometimes, and she tells me, Abba, I want to ask you a riddle or a joke. And she has a list of about 4 or 5 jokes. She asked me, she asked Aji, and then again the next day she questions us whether we remember the answer or not. So one day she asked me, Abba, when is a blue school book not blue? I said, I don't know. She said, when it is red. It's just beautiful. I mean, kids have such wonderful originality. We have to learn a lot from kids. They have amazing talent. And we all have a little child within us. We have to remember that. The little child within us. We also have the father or the teacher within us. Everything is within us. If you learn to listen, the teacher that guides you is within us. You don't need an outside guru or a teacher. Similarly, you have to be compassionate with your own being. You have to be kind to yourself, just as you are kind to a child. Now, some of the poetic expressions, I have published about 5 books of poems. I don't know why, but they just come. I wake up with them. I write down, I keep a journal. I've been keeping a journal from 1980, and these 5 books. My latest book is called The Natural Bliss. This is The Natural Bliss. It was published by Author House. I want to share a few things here. I'm going to give you a gift of 3 of my books to the library here, so you will have access to it. This short piece is called Meditative Mindset. In order to understand and learn about oneself and one's world, it is good to have an attentive, calm and clear mind, and to let the mind be filled with the present reality. It is better to let go of one's preoccupations with distracting thoughts of the past and future, and to stay mentally open, free and curious in the present moment. There is a lot to learn by living in the infinite present. We are always nested in nature. Love being in existence now. Just a simple thing. And then another of my poems from this book called Poet's Walk. This I wrote in April 14, 1995. It's called River and a Lake. A river is a lake that is in a hurry to reach the ocean. A river is a lake that is in a hurry to reach the ocean. A lake is a river that pauses to look at the blue sky. A river carves out of time, a lake reflects on eternity. A river knows the time, a lake knows the timeless. A skillful mind can flow like a river or stand still like a lake. It depends on the terrain it faces at the present moment. It lives with spontaneous joy, sometimes like a lake and sometimes like a river. Now, I think we need to understand meditation as a skill, a psychological skill to promote mental health. The whole purpose is not religion, it's not any kind of enlightenment or to see God or nothing like that. Meditation is a mental skill to learn to be at peace with yourself, to be at home in this world, and to promote mental health and develop resilience to stress. I mean, stress is a common factor. Everybody has some sort of stress or distress, you might say. And we face a lot of mental disorders, including post-traumatic stress disorder, anxiety disorders, depression. Is this a pointer here? Or I can use... Anyway, our mind and the mental thing acts like a dynamic system. And a healthy mind has high resilience. So the stress, mental resilience is the capacity of a dynamic system to return to a high utility attractor. In simple terms, return to the normal baseline of optimal baseline following a perturbation. Mental resilience is the ability of a person to cope with significant external stressor or insult and return to healthy, functional baseline. Now, when the stress pushes you, like in this case, you have low resistance, low resilience, you are easily pushed to this next basin and you are stuck in the PTSD or depression or anxiety or whatever other psychological condition there are, violence or whatever it is. So we have to learn to be healthy, mentally strong and resilient to any changing situation. That is very important, and that is the purpose of meditation. I have a sort of neurobiological perspective, and I look at the living organism as a self-organizing system, open and nested in nature. Open in the sense we continuously exchange matter, energy and information with our environment. That is the open system. And we are nested in whatever the situation we are in, continuously nested in nature. Every organism has a bioenergy, sentience and sense of being. Bioenergy becomes feeling or action. Sentience or information becomes memory, thought, cognition. And the individuality or sense of being becomes intention, volition and ego. So every organism has these aspects. Of course, every organism's faculties are different. A mosquito or a dog has different sensory motor organs and different capacities. So now this is an extremely important slide. If you want to take away one slide from this lecture, this is it. This actually, I took it from Professor Swanson's writing, Fundamental Neuroscience, 2nd edition, 2003. What it shows, B for behavior. This box is the brain, human brain, and this is the behavior. As Skinner beautifully said, behavior is what an organism does. Whatever we are doing is the behavior. And that feedback then goes back to the sensory system through exteroception and proprioception. Exteroception of the 5 senses. Proprioception is your own body, movement, joints, all that. And this sensory then goes back to the motor system and produces a response. This is the reflex response that you have. A lot of the learning can take place, like mirror imaging, mirror neurons and mirror is because of that. Even monkeys can just see it once and do it the next day. So a lot of the imitative learning is through that. And a lot of the emotional reactions are like that. You just snap, at somebody. Just a single word or some image or something and you just react reflexly, automatically to it. The second thing is the C. C stands for cognitive hedonic memory. This is memory dependent process in which we think about something, we remember something from the past or from the future. We plan to do it either intentionally, voluntarily, and we create a behavior. And lastly, this one is the spontaneous homeostatic intrinsic behavioral state with a primordial feeling. Now this is continuously being generated in our brain by the interaction between the interoceptive network and the reticular activating system. And I'll show you the reticular activating system in the brainstem and the interoceptive network in the brainstem. The two continuously interact and produce so-called conscious arousal, feelings, sense of being, sense of energy, awareness, all that is generated from there. And all this can then create positive or negative feeling depending upon how we are getting signals from the sensory or cognitive. Habitually, we are either doing this or we are doing this. We are hardly aware of our own center of being, of our own heart. We are hardly aware of that. But what is important in meditation is to minimize this dominance of this, and to minimize, especially to minimize this dominance, and to get back to it and act from our heart, from our being, from the center of our being. Unfortunately, we have learned to talk, but we have not learned to stop talking. We talk incessantly, and now with the cell phones, it's unbelievable. We are continuously busy at the verbal level, just at the surface level, like a ping pong ball on the surface of the fountain. We never know what our source of being is. So, in meditation, you minimize talking to yourself, thinking about something of the past or the future. Just be in the present moment. Listen to your breath, listen to your body, listen to your mind and heart, and be still, silent and serene. Now this is interoception that goes directly to the heart. So we'll come to that. Now, our brain is not very different from the rest of the living organisms. There is a long evolution, and in the evolution you can see a fish, frog, lizard, pigeon, cat and human being. One of the simplest way to look at the brain is this red area, which is primary subcortical homeostatic arousal system and secondary cortical cognitive hedonic system.